Imran, my elders, my sisters, my brothers. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I couldn't find a better topic at this particular juncture than a topic related to Ayatollah Sayyid Ali Khamenei. And I've been gifted or borrowed a book by the name of Cell number 14, one of the books written by Sayyid Ali Khamenei himself. And one of my objectives of reading this book is how to learn from his life and how can I personally soar from what Sheikh Murtaza Bachu mentioned during Mahi Ramadan, that what are the three different cultures that we have? We have got the entertainment culture, whereby people only want entertainment, they want everything fun, even in the mosque they want fun. And then there's that intellectual one whereby people are willing to learn and study and get to an intellectual level. And then from the intellectual level, how do they find God after having that knowledge to the spiritual level? So inshallah, if you all help me, I will try and ask a few questions. Maulana Sayyid Imran is over here. He will guide us, because after every section, I'd like to have a short reflection. So the different categories in this particular speech of mine. After he was born, his relationship with his mother, his relationship with his father, which were basically the foundations of what he became. And also then after that, his education level. Where did he get all his education from? And finally, after that, we'll touch on the fitna, on what fitna was created at that time. This will be only till page number 40 or 45 of this 240-page book. Inshallah, if things go well, inshallah, we'll continue. So I will start off with the second slide of his, after he was born in 1939. Remember this date so that you can make out the different years of his involvement. So his mother was, as he describes it, a very euphonious voice of reciting Quran. And this was one of his inspiration, his mom. His mom understood Arabic because she was raised in Iraq. Very knowledgeable in Quran. She would recite Quran from the Quran gifted to her by her father, Mir Damadi, in a very melodious tune. And Shahid constantly expressed longing to hear his mom recite Quran and reminding how beautiful her voice was. She would also translate the Quranic verses in Persian and give it to his young children, himself and Sayyid Muhammad, and narrating different anecdotes of the different prophets, especially Prophet Musa, the story which she had very deep admiration for. And this fueled her eagerness and Shahid's eagerness. Now I will generally refer to Sayyid Khamenei as Shahid, and so that it becomes easy to get the context of what I'm talking about. She loved poetry from Hafiz, the Iranian poet, keeping the good part of the Iranian culture, and she also acquainted herself with Islamic hadith, which sometimes Shahid's father may not have heard about. So they would now debate, oh, where did you hear this from? And she led a very austere life, a life of austerity, because their life was very difficult. The quality of life that she shared with her father, despite this austerity, was amazing. She refrained from mentioning about their poverty, and she would conceal her sufferings in a variety of ways and courage. And she would even be a resistant person. Whenever the Savak would come to her house to raid her house, she would be very determined, and she would never fail to respond to the Savak's verbal abuse. She never faltered or lost any of those rebuttals with her, and she would encourage her son that go for this tough path that you've taken. So some points for reflection. Don't show the reflection point yet. I'd like to first see. So if I can ask a few questions. Number one, what did we learn from the mother in regards to Quran and the love, instilling the love of the Quran to the children that brought about a person like the Shaheed? Anything you'd like to share? So there's certain things that I felt myself, and maybe Sayyid can correct me, is that this particular instilling of the Quran from a very young age made a person love the Quran, live by the Quran, and be very strong. In the recently concluded Quran competition, there was one of the brothers known as Brother Muhammad Shabir. His son, when he was in the womb of the mother actually attended a QC several years back. Today, that son, just a couple of months back, is almost half as a Quran of half of the Quran. And he could actually flip pages and tell you, you would flip the pages, tell this particular page, and he would tell you what's the ayat of the Quran. So these things are very much possible, and they can bring about such characters that we have. Other things that the mother did was to conceal the poverty of the husband. Generally, people tend to complain very easily. But in this particular case, she would stay honorable. Being honorable meant even more for them. Other point was that she continuously studied hadith. She continuously learned new things. And the relationship with the son was very strong. Okay, now we move off to the father. So the father was known as Sayyid Javad Khamenei, a very elevated character, extensive in his erudition and attained ijtihad under Mirza Naini and Sayyid Abul Hassan Isfahani. He refrained from scrutinizing other people's merchandise because remember, his mosque that he was the imam of was inside the market. So he would not generally pass and say, oh, this guy is good, or this guy's goods are good, or this guy. You know, we've got critics in today's world, and they are becoming famous. They criticize everyone. But this guy actually stayed away from that. And he would not even estimate someone's possession that this guy could be this much rich. He reached the highest point of restraint, results in religious abstinence from self-indulgence, so he would be able to handle and get the name out of God generally, but he would not be attached to it. Unlike the Shaheed, the father was an introvert. The Shaheed became extrovert. Partly due to the father's introversion. He saw the introversion part and he chose the part of extroversion. And Shaheed's father gave an example of his introvertedness being the imam of the mosque. He would generally enter from the mosque and look down and walk straight to the mihrab very purposefully. So generally he would avoid talking unnecessarily. His gaze would be fixed on the right down, and he would untie his turban below his jaw as the Islamic custom. He would pray the salah, and after the salah he would remain quiet. If anyone would want to ask questions, they would ask questions. Otherwise, he would just move out, and that's done. His attachment to books was intense. And he was very uneasy when the children wanted to pick a few books of his from his library and see the way he tells them, because he didn't want them to get spoiled. And say, especially when they were playing around with it. And he would say, "What is this that I see? Please return it back to its place." He would sell the books, especially when he would be compelled because there's no food at home. And Shaheed himself records, saying that sometimes he used to get some small posho from his maternal grandfather, Mir Damadi, and he would use that money to buy food. That was their situation. Certain times, they would just have raisins and bread to eat. And certain times, They would just have milk. And this is the tough situation that he grew with, that in his future life, it became, even when he was in jail, it was not something new for him. The Shaheed's father never mentioned his destitution or his deprivation to any of his people. Actually, the people in the market felt that the Sayyid was very much rich, because his outer garb was very nice and was luxurious, but his inner garb were all the poor ones. So he never showed it. And this is one of the acts that Islam generally encourages us, that do not show, or at least dress in a nice, presentable manner. Shaheed's father loved him very much, and he gave him special affection. He even enjoyed his company. After Shaheed became mature, the father generally traveled with Shaheed only. He would, during the summer breaks, he would be so particular in not wasting time. He was not even happy, to a certain extent, saying that why should we break for summer when it's not very harsh. In Najaf, it becomes very harsh in summer. So that was okay, because they studied in Najaf as well. But in Iran, he would not be of the opinion that during summer breaks there should be a break. So he would tell his boys, okay, we've done Hawza, come, because he had reached the level of ijtihad, and they would study more. Even during Mah Muharram, they used to study till the 7th night, and then after the 7th night, there would be a break. So he was of that opinion. He said one very powerful thing to his son, to Shaheed himself, that at the age of 15, the father used to say to him that you have become a mujtahid already, as you have the capacity to deduce religious laws from their original source. And this is right at the age of 15. So if we go to the points of reflection on the next slide, please. Number one, we saw that Ayatollah Khamenei, the Shaheed, is not someone who is a normal person. At the age of 15, if a mujtahid tells you that you are a mujtahid, you have the capacity to derive from the original sources. And today on Al Jazeera and all the other channels, we see that they say, oh no, he came through a political system and he was not the most learned part. This is just Al Jazeera's document a couple of days back. And they said, how did Ayatollah Khamenei come after Ayatollah Khomeini? And they say he was not the most learned. And this is something that Mehdi Hassan, who's now again affiliated with Al Jazeera, he also said about Ayatollah Mujtaba Khamenei that he is not the most learned. This is becoming now a royalty. Again, these viruses are there. Unfortunately, it's on our own brother, but we have to be careful. So, points to be taken, he did not scrutinize the merchandise of other people. Generally, in our business-oriented communities, we tend to do this. And this is a very big lesson. Another way of telling children, rather than getting angry, is, what is this I see? Please put it in its place. It was enough for the children to say, this guy, I can't mess with him. Let me just put the book back into its place. A nice way to say, rather than being angry. Another one was how to protect your honor by wearing the right clothes. Yeah, making use of your time. It's just like I've heard in many lectures from our learned people here as well, is that for a believer, time is like an ice. He wants to sell this ice, and it is the most hottest of days, and it is getting yayukad. So how can you use your time when it's getting melted so fast? Do not waste your time into things that are less important in life. So another thing that happened to Shaheed, and this showed his connection to his father. Remember, his father was very strict, but his connection, his respect to his wali was very strong. And one of the times when he was reprimanded or incarcerated by the SAVAK is basically the intelligence office or the intelligence police of the Shah. They are like the CIA of Iran. And when he was taken up into custody, he was very much worried because he had to take his father for an eye checkup or an eye operation in another city. And he was wrenched. His heart was engulfed into a lot of anxiety. Being a Sayyid with a lot of iman and all of that, he was still on the plane. He had not even gone to the prison. And then he invokes to Allah and says, "Oh Allah, calm my heart down. I know why I'm here. There's a reason why I'm here. There's a greater purpose over here. Please help me." And Allah answers his prayer. He becomes much more calmer. And as we go further in this particular book, later on, not today, we'll see how he responds to each and every officer, till the officers who come into that interrogation room and they are coming with a punch or they're coming very strong, and he's like, "Do what you have to do and I'll do what I have to do." And these guys are baffled that, hey, this guy is like 20 years old and speaking like this. So that's another thing, and this is what we understand of how even saints go through. The reflection part of this is how saints go through different problems and how they invoke Allah through dua. Dua is a very powerful thing. Maulana always says that this is a pharmacy. Whatever issues that you have in your heart, anxiety, any problems that you have, look at the duas and it helps you a lot. Just a small touch. Shahid's uncle was known as Sayyid Muhammad Khamenei, known in Iraq as Sayyid Muhammad Payghambari, and he was very much known in Iraq for his aid work. So I'll just go very quickly for his education because there's so much. If we could put the slide of his education, I'll go very quickly because I just want to go finally to the fitna part. So he studied a lot through his mom, through his dad, studying different books, which is there on the slides. He was a prominent reciter of Quran. During his younger age, he was being called, just like we see Sayyid Mohsin, Sayyid Ali coming in front reciting Quran. He had even a better voice, and he used to be reciting when at a younger age. There's one time that even Ayatollah Qashani recommended him, saying that you recited so well. So in his studies, he went through different malims, different sheikhs, different ulamas. One thing that I really found very nice, his father brought the two boys to Haji Ramzan. Haji Ramazan really taught them a lot of Quran, and he had a very nice etiquette of walking behind the Sayyids. This is again a very respectful thing to do. And also, Haji Ramadan knew that this guy is a son of Javad Khamenei. So this was there. The other good things that I saw in his education is that he went through elementary school, then moved to Hausa because his father was not of the opinion that he should go to any other school because of the different curriculums which could be deviating. So they went straight to Hausa. They learned both sides. He was very much a quick reader. He loved novels. And one of the novels that he loved reading was Les Miserables by Victor Hugo Victor. And he learned quite a few things. So he would also select certain books to understand the foreign world. He was taught by many people like Sheikh Bajistani and many ulama. When he went to Iraq as well, he even was in the lessons of Ayatollah Khoi, which I've mentioned over there. Quick reflections is the respects that the teachers gave to the Sayyid despite being double the age, the reading culture that the Shaheed had, and to make sure that he is able to not waste any of his time. Now finally, if I go to the fitna part, as you know that the ulamas in Iran and even in many countries I've seen at a certain time, especially when I was young as well, I could see this. And there was generally propaganda against the ulama so that people do not listen to the ulama. So, for example, they wore a turban, as an Iranian custom for students, talabes, and preachers, and people who are going to the seminaries. So, whenever they would move from one place to other, they would be taunted. So because the clerical's job was that they should have the responsibility of calling people to religion, confronting the enemies like the way we see in the Iran war, their purpose was to stand against the tyrant of that time, yeah, and they would also discourage people against secularism. So the pro-Western Shah, what they did was they banned the turbans, number one, so that people couldn't recognize where they could get spiritual knowledge. When you devoid that spiritual knowledge, then people become morally corrupt because there's no one to go and see. Alhamdulillah, we have ulamas here, we have ulamas everywhere. The idea is to go and ask them different questions so that you may be guided. In 1951, Mossadegh, the first prime minister of Iran, was elected. He went through that process, and Reza Shah was removed, only for the US and the UK agents to put Mohammad Reza Shah, the younger one, back to power. And this is when the SAVAK intelligence officer was actually created during that time. Shahid's father vehemently refused for any of his sons or his relatives not to wear the turban, so they wore it by force. To that extent, on a lighter note, generally they would wear the turban and then bring it on the left side, yeah? Yeah. So the mother used to make sure, because the father said they must wear turban, you make that turban and then bring it on the right-hand side. And the Sayyid generally on the right side, yeah? So she would put it on the left side and he would laugh, then, Mommy, what have you done? But this shows again how the mother was supporting of the values of the father. One other very nice anecdote was that the Sheikh used to love to play volleyball, and this was one of his best sports. The Shaheed was playing volleyball in his younger age. He put his amama down, playing with his brothers and his friends rather, and all of a sudden they see Ayatollah FAJR on a donkey going from one place to another. And remember, this propaganda was already there to put the ulamas down, and they were called by one name, Ashekh, 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 rather than Agha Sheikh, they say Ashekh. And that name Ashekh was basically a derogatory term used against the ulamas, trying to mock them. And they straight away said, let's say in one word, Ashekh, Ashekh. And Sayyid Sheikh FAJR got angry, so he went very quickly with his donkey and came to where the boys were. He dismounted, and then he noticed that Ayatollah Ali Khamenei is there. And he's a young man at that time. So he goes, walks to him in a very perplexed smile, and he tells him, Sayyid, why you? Why you? So imagine the propaganda was put in such a subtle way that even a normal person could not recognize that this is propaganda. So imagine how much propaganda we could be having through the TVs and through the channels that we have today. Yeah, so that's final. I think that's the fitna. The other fabricated story was that these ulamas that you see in Mashhad, they go outside Mashhad, they have a binge party, a drinking party, and this is what the ulamas are all about. This was a very big story, and there are people who they're saying that they witnessed it, but it was fake, it was facade again, just to bring the ulamas down, so that the moment you bring away the ulamas, then this is what we've seen. The ulamas who are respected in Iran, they can stand today. All the Muslim countries whose ulamas are not strong, they are totally within that Western media, they can't stand in front of anyone. So these are the stories that I could get from this book. Inshallah, if we get time, I will inshallah share with you. And I would like to share one more thing that we have as a reflection in our communities. So during my childhood, generally a person who would be not very, up chest, walking, confident, overconfident, those kind of boys would generally be looked upon, down upon, especially if these boys are coming to the mosque, helping the Maulana. These boys, during my age, we were called mullahs, mullahs, and then people would giggle. So at my age, even I could feel that discouragement that, Baba, there's a better world there. You need to work on the business part, and this is like just culture. This is what I got from my age. So these propagandas are there. We just have to be very careful. And I will end with one story. One of my teachers, known as Sayyid Ali Naqvi, Sayyid Muhammad Naqvi's brother, the guys who recite qasidas and lectures as well. So when he was young, he had a very tough teenage years. In a way, because in madrasa, he used to be judged by his father, because his father was a very big scholar. So whenever he would ask questions in the madrasa, he said, "Tu to Sayyid na chokro chhe, tane khabar hon jaye. You should know. You're Sayyid's son." So he was being taunted. To that extent, he left madrasa. He left madrasa and he became a different person altogether, away from the mosque. Till at the age of 19, his mother's tears telling him, "Boy, I need you back," is when he changed. He not only became a very big Quran reciter, which he won in Dubai, a big competition, but he also ended up becoming a scholar. He became a mentor. He became so much more. But he's saying, and he really vouches, that those years of his teenage was messed up by that one teacher who taunted him. So again, having those preambles that Sayyid no chokroche, your mullah, is again things that we need to remove from our community, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
السلام عليك يا خليفة الرحمن. السلام